Hello, friends. Beautiful beginnings. Welcome back to my channel. I want to thank you all for listening. I want to thank God for this day. Thank Him for all His blessings. So let's release. Next week, I will be renewing my vows with a man that is God sent, literally. And I have been emotional for the last 2 days. So when I previously did the episode, I spoke about your heart being a treasure. So the chapter is actually Luke 12, verse 34. And I feel like when you're grieving, you have this longing and this emptiness to be fulfilled by that person that you have lost. And from my healing perspective, for me, these last 2 days have been very emotional because I have events coming up that mean a lot to me, and I would love for my mother to see me making these accomplishments physically, because most definitely she is here with me spiritually, and God shows me that daily. But I'm learning, and I am living life being happy and grieving. So I'm learning how to intake certain things and not let it get me to an emotional state to where I'm unable to accomplish goals that I've set for myself, because that means that you want a positive quality of life. So the chapter touched my heart because my mother, like I say all the time, she just was a really nice person from ever since I was younger, allowing people who didn't have anywhere to live to move in and have 3 and 4 children, and she just did not care. She was just a kind soul like that. So that's why Luke chapter 12 verse 34 touched me, and I will be going back to revisit that church for the pastor who spoke it to me. Now, I have scriptures that come. I'm learning the Bible. I'm learning God's Word Translation Bible, and I am gaining more spirituality. Today, it was Romans 12:12, and what stood out to me was patience in affliction, because when you are grieving, from my healing perspective, from my own personal experience, the day before yesterday I had to transition, and I had to do something that reminded me of my mother, and it put me in an emotional state. So when I saw the patience in affliction, when you're grieving, small things can trigger you to become an emotional person that is sad, shows the emotion of sadness. And that's what had happened. Because I already was emotional, when I got triggered, I became even more emotional, in the sense of it's not really the way that I like to outlet my emotions. So I'm crying, and I'm thinking about my mother, and I'm thinking about what I have to do. And when I read the scripture today, and it said patience in affliction, when I was triggered with the obstacle that broke me down, actually, for that moment, because I didn't let it last long, I thought about the patience in affliction, because that was something that occurred, and I allowed it to trigger the emotion of sadness. When you're grieving, certain things can make you feel like you are falling to pieces, and it's not necessarily because you're falling to pieces. It's because at that moment, from my healing perspective, at that moment in time, something has you thinking of your loved one in a different way. And when things or barriers occur, it's almost like you want them anyway. So it's just like even a more longing for them. And it hurts you because now you have to think of it in a different light. And that's just from what I'm seeing while I'm living life happy and grieving. Because I am living happy and I am grieving. So the patience in affliction really touched me, because a lot of things can trigger the emotion of sadness when you're grieving, because you already have this emptiness and this longing for your loved one in a physical form. I'm glad that I'm spiritually connected. I'm glad that God has opened up my mind and my thoughts and my heart to know that when certain things happen is my mother, and other things can occur in life and then not necessarily be from God, but that's what you have to deal with. And just make sure that you remember that God is, like the scripture said, Romans 12, God is love, God is patience, God is kindness, God is all of these things. And if you exhibit that even through the hardships, even when I was triggered and showed the emotion of sadness, if I would have had read that scripture and had that thought, I maybe could have addressed the situation differently. Not in the sense of not crying, but knowing that the reason why I am crying. See, I'm learning that it's okay to have the emotion of sadness, because you're missing that loved one. That's fine. You're able to mourn. It's just how you look at it and what you do about it, because you don't want it to let it consume you in your life, and then you're not living that quality of life. You're not giving yourself the actual chance to truly and genuinely be happy in life. And this is just all from my healing perspective. I have events coming up and special things happening, and I want to know that in my life, my mother is my angel. She is my spiritual guide. She is with me. God is with me. But it's okay if I want her presence in a physical manner, and not to necessarily suppress that. So I just wanted to come on and speak. I'm going to go live this evening. It is Friday. We have a beautiful snow day. I thank God for all the blessings. And I'm just living life happy while grieving. These are some of the things that I experienced, that I am truly going through. And this is all from my healing perspective. I thank you all for listening. Until next time, God bless.